All right, so today what we're going to do is we're going to solve systems of inequalities. Okay, so that's what we're looking at, and we got a couple of them set up here so that we can solve them, and then we can put them on a graph. But it's not a terrible difficult thing, but if you don't know what you're looking at, you're going to get lost and not know what you're doing. So make sure you're focused in and paying attention to this, because there's some nuances here that you got to have in order to do this. Now, the first thing you notice is we have two inequalities, right? Just like systems of equations, you got two or more. That's the first thing, okay? The next thing that you notice is these are in standard form. We don't want them in standard form. We're going to take them and put them in slope-intercept form so that we can graph these. We're not going to line them up. We're going to use the graphing in order to tell what they are, because we're going to find out where they're true, where they're both true, and go from there. And you'll see what that means here in just a minute. Okay? First thing we got to do is put them into slope-intercept form. So we're going to take this and we're going to solve for y. So I'm going to add the inverse here, add the inverse here. That leaves me with y is greater than negative x plus 2. Okay, so solve for y. Y is greater than negative x plus 2. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Okay, we're going to add the inverse. Okay, that leaves me with 2y is less than 4x plus 8. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. And I'm going to split this up into both of these terms. So divide by 2. Divide by 2, this cancels out. Remember, if you divide by a negative on both sides, you got to flip the inequality. I don't do that here because this was a positive number that I divided by. But if it had been negative, you'd have had to flip that inequality, so don't forget that. Okay, so we end up with y is less than, well, 4 divided by 2 gets me 2x, plus 8 divided by 2 gets me 4. So here are my inequalities. I have y less than 2x plus 4, and then I have y is greater than negative x plus 2. Okay? We're going to take these and we're going to place them on a graph. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Take them and put them on a graph. All right. So our first one, y, and here I'm going to put them up here so that we can see them. Y is greater than negative x plus 2. So this is our first line, and we're going to put this up here. Notice there's no line underneath it. That means it's supposed to be a dotted line. Okay, so that's one of the first things that you notice. Then we look at our y-intercept, 0, 2. So I'm going to go from here, go up to 0, 2. 1, 2. Here's our first point. Here's our first point. And then my slope tells me to go down 1 and to the right 1. Down 1 to the right. Down 1 to the right. And I can keep doing this and have a good point. And I'm even going to go back the other way, right? Up 1 to the left. Up 1 to the left. And this gets me my line. Okay? And now this is a dotted line, so I think I can get a dotted line on here. Yep, sure can. All right. So there's my dotted line. That's that inequality there, right? All the way through here. Okay? Now, the other thing that you got to notice is it's shaded, right? We're going to shade this. Well, y is greater than negative x plus 2. So what this is talking about is everything that is above this dotted line. So it's talking about all of this area up here. All through here, okay? That's the first part, okay? That's what it's talking about, okay? And then we got to take our other one and put it onto the graph, right? And the other one is y is less than 2x plus 4, okay? So here's our other line that we're doing, okay? So we go up to the y-intercept, 0, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's that point right there. And then we go up to the right. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. And then I'm going to go back the other way so that I get a good line. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And now I'm looking, is there a line underneath there? No. So it's a dotted line again. So we got another dotted line. So again, we're going to put the dotted line on there, and I'm just going to change the colors here. And that should do it, maybe. Okay. Yep, that'll do it. Okay, so there's my other line, right? And it keeps going down, right? I mean, arrows at the ends keep going both ways. Okay, and it is, y is less than 2x. So now we're talking about everything that is below this line, right? Everything that is below this line. So it's everything below this line. And now notice something. Where do those two things cross? That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about this area here or this area up here. We're specifically talking about where are both of these lines true, right? Well, that's in this area right over here where they're both shaded across. So the solution set for these two, right, where both of them are true, is within this shaded area. This is why we got to graph this, right? Because otherwise, we're not quite understanding exactly what we're looking at. We have this whole area in here. So any point inside of here is true for both of these, okay? And that makes that where that system is true, okay? So that's what we're looking at. Now, your work's not going to quite look like this, okay? It's going to be pretty close. It's going to be doing the same thing, graphing the lines, okay? Figuring out where it's shaded. But I did this. This is basically what you would do on paper, okay, in order to be able to do this. Okay, so what does your work look like? Your work looks more like this. Okay, this is on Get More Math so that you can kind of see it. Okay, and you have y is greater than 2x plus 1. So we're going to graph our first line. Y is greater than 2x plus 1. So again, go up to your first point. You're going to graph your two points on it, and it's going to give you your line. So 2 up 2, 1, 2 over 1. So it gives us a line, but notice, this is a solid line, which would be true if there was a little line under here that said it equaled these points, but it doesn't. So I need it to be a dotted line. So I'm going to hit that to give me my dotted line. You've seen this before, we've done this before. Okay, so now we got our dotted line. Now it is it's above our line, right? Y is greater than. So it'd be everything up here. Now the problem is that I can't shade it yet. Okay, so I got to remember where it's shaded at. All right, so I know it's above here. All right, and then I'm going to do this. Y is greater than negative 1 over 2 x plus 2. Okay, so my next line, 0, 2, 0, 2, and it goes down 1 to the right 2. So down 1, 1, 2. Okay, and there's my line. Now, where are they both true? Well, on this line, it's above, right? And on this line, it's above, right? So when I shade, that's the only point where they're both true, okay? That's what you're looking at it. Okay? That's where you're looking. So you're gonna have to remember where they're at in here in order to be able to do this. It's not exactly how I would like it. I wished I could shade and it would make like one grayer than the other, but it still works and you can still do it, okay? And let's just check the answers. Yeah, right in that area, okay? So that's what you're looking at, and I'm gonna do a couple of these because I want you to really kind of get a good idea of this so that you see this. But there's not a lot to this as long as you know how to graph your inequalities. If you know how to graph your inequalities, you're in a good spot here. Okay. Okay, so, I want this one because I want you to see this and what happens, okay? So, first off, y is greater than or equal to 0. So first, it's going to be a solid line because it has that little line underneath it. So y is greater than or equal to, so solid line, 0. So where is y 0? Well, y 0 right there, okay? But where else is y 0? Well, y 0 right there, okay? So that's our x-axis, and that's fine, okay? But that whole line right there is where y is 0. Everywhere you go along it, the y will be 0. And that's what that is saying right there, okay? And then you have y is greater than or equal to 0. So it includes that line, and it is above the line, because y is greater than. So everything above this line, above the x-axis in this case, is a true statement for this line, okay? And then you have y is less than negative 4x. Well, when you don't have the other number out here, you start at the origin. So here's our next point, right there, okay? And then we go down 4 and to the right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, to the right 1. And that's a dotted line, so because it doesn't include those points. Now, this line, it was above it. This line, it's below it. So you're looking at shading. Let's see here. Above and below. Okay, so above this one, but below this one, you're looking at shading in that spot right there. Okay, and that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to go back to each line and go, okay, which line was represented by which one? Okay, here it's above. Okay, so that's that one. So it'd be all this up here. Okay, and this one is this line, and it'd be below it. So that's all this over here. So this is the only time where they actually cross. And you're going to have to do that, otherwise you're going to mess up these shadings, right? Okay? And you just going to have to remember, the other thing that you could do is you could actually take a pencil, paper, graph it out, and shade to find out where the shading is. You could do that too. And then put it on here. Whatever you got to do in order to get this where it works, right? For one real quick. Okay, yeah, x, I wanted to do another one where it had this. Okay, so x is greater than negative 1. So where is x negative 1? Well, x is negative 1 right there. Okay, and then you're looking at where else is x 1? Because this is saying that x is always going to be greater than negative 1. All right, well, it's negative 1 there. Notice it's a vertical line. Now, it doesn't include it, so it's a dotted line. And it's greater than it, so all of this is going to be shaded over here. Okay? And then we're going to come up here and we're going to graph this one. Y is greater than or equal to x plus 4. Well, okay. We know we need to go to 0, 4. 0, 4. And then we go up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. And we know it's a solid line. And y is greater than or equal to it. Well, it's above this line, here, and here it's to the right, so the only part of this that's shaded is right there, okay? Pay attention to the way these go, pay attention to your lines, making sure that they're correct. Watch these, because these will throw you for a loop if you're not paying attention, but you should know how to solve, you should know how to graph your lines already, okay? You should know how to shade. Now it's just about finding where they're both shaded. That's what you're looking for, okay? Make sure that they're in slope-intercept form. You don't want it in standard form. We're putting it in slope-intercept form, okay? And if you do this, you're going to be fine. If you have any questions, need help, contact me, let me know.